Hi, everyone. This is John Muldoon, Assistant Superintendent at Maple Run Unified School District.
And I'm Bill Kimball, Superintendent of Schools here at Maple Run.
Welcome to our weekly podcast.
Yeah, we're back at it again. It seems like we were just here a minute ago, John.
Well, there's a little dirty secret you all may want to know, and that is that our recording days might not all be a week apart.
Yeah, and that's what's happening today, and it's going to happen for a couple more weeks as well. So we're a little bit of scrambling today, but lots of good things going on around here. So we thought we'd kind of start off with what we've been doing. So, John, what have you been up to?
Well, like Bill said, we are in the education business, so it's been a scramble. And then, I've been struggling. I've got a sick kiddo at home, so my wife and I have been trying to balance that. But we have a tremendous amount happening in schools. We have some subgroups from the leadership team and from the curriculum committees working on how to improve our PLC processes and align that across the district. And so that's been a great group. They've been doing some common learning, actually, so that we can kind of align with purpose as we engage in that work. I've been working with Barb Tenney, who's our ELL teacher and specialist for the district, on how to support some newcomers. We've seen a shift in the profile of ELL students the district sees over the past couple of years, with more and more newcomers that arrive with no or very little functional English. And then I've been working with the new math and literacy coordinators for those committees to structure that work for the year. And so it's been a full week.
Yeah, that seems like it would be a full week. This week, as John, you joined me, and then Andrea Rasick and Polly Rico joined me for the interim secretary of education, Zoe Saunders, has been hosting what she's calling listening and learn sessions. Not quite sure where the listening and the learning are, but we are figuring that out as we go through it. We were there on Friday and had a chance to kind of learn about areas that the department's focusing on, but it's also part of Act 183, which was a yield bill this past year that developed a commission for the future of Vermont's education. So there was a lot of input that was given, some reactions to reports that the AOE is trying to put together, and all that. The other thing that's kind of interest of me, and some people know this about my work, but as a superintendent, my job is I usually don't get too much into the details. I'm more of like a coordinator of efforts around here in Maple Run and make sure people are in the right conversations. But the one place I get into some details is around facilities work. And last week I had a good couple-hour meeting with our facilities director and directors, and Marty Spalding, who works for PCI, who they help us with taking care of construction around here. And we're actually already starting planning for next summer and what we're going to be doing for updating the buildings. So that's quite a task, and the board has said for us to come back to them with a plan on how to use $3 million of the capital fund project to help improve our buildings. They do a great job of keeping them up, but we have over 1 million square feet here of buildings, and that takes quite a bit of resources to keep them going. So,
yeah, and you all heard it here. If you have a long to-do list for your home projects, Bill loves that kind of work, so you can send that his way.
Yeah, I have been known to tear things apart and sometimes get them back together. So that happens at my house.
I feel like that's the engineer in you.
Yeah, it is.
Well, can we segue to celebrations?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So I'll kick us off. I am over the moon with some of the in-service learning we have scheduled for this year. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about it is because this is really either directly related to the community feedback we got from the strategic plan and all those community engagement sessions last year, or has come directly out of curriculum committees and the voice of teachers in determining what they need for their learning. And so I've got the list for pre-K 8, and I'm just going to read the titles real quick because I think they're pretty great. We've got restorative practices, which is a continuation of a commitment from the district here.
As you know, that's something we've committed to, that all of our educators go through that training here.
Exactly. And then we've got 2 literacy-focused options. One, putting adolescent literacy in focus. That's a hot topic. And then what about writing? So we've done a lot of work around reading comprehension, and teachers have been asking for more learning around writing. We've got several sessions on illustrative mathematics, which is our new math program, pre-K to 8. Developing culturally responsive teaching and learning, and so that is a direct connection to the strategic plan and community input.
And I think we ran that a couple times, didn't we, John, in the past?
That's right. So we've run this course several times. It's been very well received. It's run through our partner Better Lesson, which comes out of Massachusetts, and they're really a national leader in this kind of work in schools.
That's great to have them as a partner.
Yeah, we're leveling up, so we're offering the next level of that course as well, which is strategies for celebrating student identities.
Cool.
So that'll be the first time we have that class.
That'd be great.
And then we have 3 other courses. One of them is about student behavior and responding to that as regardless of position. So teacher, administrator, paraprofessional.
Yeah.
The new art and science of teaching, which is, of course, based off of Marzano's landmark work on instructional strategies.
I was going to say, before you got here my first year, we had a study group on that book, on Marzano's book of the art and science of teaching 4 years ago up at BFA. We had about 10, 12 teachers sit down and read the book and had a nice discussion on that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, and this is a course that kind of blends some of the best aspects of the book with some live video presentation from, or recorded video presentations from some of the professional developments that he's put on.
Good.
And then the last one is Soul, which is a really interesting book/course that is out that blends teacher and educator purpose and finding that meaning in that with strategies for wellness.
That's great. That connects right to what we've been doing on this podcast with that wellness piece. But it's kind of having to really know where you're going and knowing yourself. It's one of the things I ask. I was saying to someone the other day, some of my interview questions that I ask everyone that applies for a job and gets to sit down with an interview with me as a teacher is one of the things I really look for is, do they know themselves really well? Because if you have that as a teacher, it makes it a lot easier to understand how your effect is on students in the classroom. So a couple things I really want to celebrate. Last week I talked a lot about open house over at City School, and this recording's happening the Tuesday before the Monday release, so we're almost a week ahead of time. But this coming Thursday, Fairfield's having their open house, and it has a real celebration it's got a place-based celebration. And what do I mean by that? It's got a lot of farm-to-school pieces in it, and as many of us know, Fairfield does a great job of integrating different agricultural aspects into their schooling, into their project-based learning. And it's not just Project Sweet Talk. There are many other pieces on that. And they've done a whole theme for Harvest Dinner this year and diversity of cultures and cultural awareness. And I know each grade level has a focus on that. So I hear the staff are cooking dinner and the kids are making dessert. So I know I want to get there for some meal. That should be a good meal.
Yeah, do we know what the menu is? I'm intrigued.
It's it's a spaghetti dinner with apple crisp for dessert. So
right.
Should be good. I know when I've gone up there before and the kids have been baking, it comes out real well. So they do a great job. And then the last thing I want to celebrate, it's kind of a twofer, is the traditions at BFA around homecoming. It's one of those things. I've worked in 4 or 5 different districts throughout my career, and all in New England here. I really think I've always thought of BFA as it is the place for Friday night lights for football, but it's that whole tradition of the week, and we're right in the middle of it up at BFA right now. But the way the town turns out for football on Friday night for the football game, and then for the Powder Puff game on Saturday with Missisquoi, is just kind of cements my idea of what a community is about, and coming together to raise money for Camp Tecumseh and all the folks that do that work, and just the expression. I lived in Saint Albans back in 96, 97, and my wife had a 1-year position up at BFA, and I remember going up there for homecoming and just being astounded because I grew up in Vermont, and I grew up in the Rutland area and thought we had a lot of people for homecoming and for our football games, but it's nothing like it is at St. Albans. So it's just such a great tradition and the way the community comes out and supports the school. So Those are my celebrations for this week. But
I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I don't know. I'm excited because I feel like we're going to have a spirited conversation with our guest here in a few minutes.
Yeah. We didn't even, when we opened up, we didn't even say it was coming. But I think we'll let that be a surprise for when they're here, and we'll just kind of keep you'll probably see the theme as we're going through this. There was a little bit in some of that PD piece as well, but we thought one of the things we talk about is in our weekly wellness tip was a way to just help with your overall wellness is reading and listening to either reading books or listening to audiobooks. Sorry, I didn't say that very well. But some of the benefits there is it can really reduce your stress and improve your concentration and memory. It expands your vocabulary. Very true for myself, and writing skills. Both those are really true. I've gained that. Enhances your knowledge and stimulates your creativity. And it actually promotes better sleep. I don't do this myself, but I know of many people that they use a book for a way to calm themselves down and settle so they can get to sleep each night. So what are those aspects for you, John, or something else that you see that connection of the benefits of reading into your overall wellness?
So I'd agree with all of those. I also, in the beginning, my wife didn't appreciate how much I wanted to talk about what I was reading. But now we actually have some really great conversations that are sparked by what either one of us are reading. Yeah. And whether it's a professional topic or a personal topic. And so it's kind of become a norm in our relationship, but I'm thankful for that connection that is fostered by kind of the love of learning that we both have. Yeah. Although I will say there's something I struggle with audiobooks, and that is not being able to like instantly reread. And so I do a lot of rewinding in the moment, but I'm usually doing it in the car, so it doesn't, I go back too far or not far enough. And
as long as you're not driving off the road there, John, and going back and forth with that.
No, but no, I'm not. But I do have one system that is helping me. This is new. I started maybe 3 weeks ago. And Ashley Levine, interestingly enough, suggested this. And that was not to take notes while I'm listening to the audiobook, but what if I had just a Post-it note, like on my steering wheel or somewhere in the car, and I just wrote down like a word that I felt like would cue me later to think about something really important from what I've just listened to. And so it's really interesting. I've got some different Post-it notes in different parts of the car now, and when I get in the car, I'm like, okay, that was that topic from like 3 days ago, or it's just a way to keep it fresh for me.
For me, connecting to this is a tough one to connect. I said at a convocation, reading and writing have always been a struggle for me. It's something that I keep working on, and it's actually one of the places that I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of the reading task itself, but I get lots of enjoyment from learning. Mm-hmm. So it's whatever medium I can learn, and so it's really interesting. We're producing a podcast, but I listen to lots of podcasts, and on different topics, whether it's my calm down way or kind of unplugging from work on the way home is sports podcasts, but I have a couple leadership podcasts that I listen to and a couple educational podcasts. So those are kind of the way I like to learn. And I think when I look at all these benefits of reading that that I listed earlier, it's that lifelong learning. And that's what reading actually is, one of many ways that can happen. And I do use reading, although I say it's one of those things it's more of like it's a task I have to do and something that create enjoyment, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And it does, I think I get some of these same benefits as though it's not an easy task for me to do.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you have found your way through that, right, that speaks to the power of it that we're referencing here.
Oh, I think so too. And I think when we could connect it to many things in education, and it's that individualized piece of I've found my way through to accessing the information and making new meaning of it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what reading does for most people.
So I'm kind of kicking myself because I had one thing. I knew we were going to be talking about reading, and I had one thing I really wanted to say, and I forgot to say it.
Uh-oh. Jeez. Okay, what did you forget?
Bill knows this, but I'm like a dog with a bone. Or is it a dog without a bone?
No, it's dog with a bone.
I'm like a dog with a bone when I really want to do something. So the interesting thing, I don't give cards anymore.
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't know why. I find it really... obnoxious that it's like $8 or $9 for a greeting card sometimes.
No,
right?
We could go get into another thing on that.
But so I buy books instead.
Okay.
So basically, if I have an occasion to give someone a card, I buy a book that I think they'll really enjoy or is timely for them or whatever the case may be, and then I just write whatever I was going to write on the card inside the jacket of the book.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And so I feel like I don't know why I knew we were going to talk about books, so I really wanted to share that little life hack
That's a good life hack. That's a good life hack.
It's not that much more expensive.
All right, so I think we're at the point where our guests are going to join us. And so we'll be right back, and we'll have them join us. And as you heard, it's plural, so we're going to have two people again, as we did a couple weeks ago. Welcome back, all. We're here with Mike Flanagan from SATEC and Ashley Levine from City School. And the two librarians there, we thought it would be great to talk about. We've had a theme of reading. As we said, we didn't introduce them at the beginning of the show. We had them as a surprise guest. So we wanted to let each of them kind of introduce herself a little bit and tell us a little bit the story of how you got to where you are here at Maple Run. So maybe Ashley, I'll have you go first.
All right. So Ashley Levine here. I got to Maple Run because we bought a house in 2014 here in the city. And I immediately went to our principal at the time, Joan Cavallo, and said, I'm going to be a teacher here in the district one day. Shook her hand confidently, and here I am.
That's great. That's great. How about you, Michael?
Great to be here on the pod. I guess I'm what you'd call a local yokel. I was born in Burlington, raised in Colchester, made my way to St. Mike's. Love being in Vermont. Great place to grow up. Graduated with a degree in American Studies and a teacher's license. My plan was to go backpacking around Europe with a buddy after graduating from college in 2001. And then we were set to fly out on September 18th, 2001. We could not get out of the country.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I took the money I had saved for the trip, bought a guitar, and then started applying for positions and was hired at SATEC as a 5th grade social studies teacher that January. And I thought this would be a good place to start. And almost 23 years have gone by.
So now I understand how that guitar got in that library.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. That's great. So what's one thing people don't know about you?
So I once ran for state representative in 2002, right after getting hired. I didn't think I was going to win. I ran as a sponge candidate with a friend, and I think the funniest part of it was there was another candidate who had run for state treasurer named Ed Flanagan. So there were all these Flanagan signs out. So we reached out to he lost in his primary, and so we reached out to his campaign and said, could we reuse those signs? And we did. With a little green Sharpie and some white athletic tape, we turned Ed Flanagan for state treasurer into Mike Flanagan for state rep. And I thought, it was a great exercise to bring back to the classroom of actually knocking on doors and taking part in debates and all of that kind of thing. But I got 422 votes. Okay. So I was like, all right, didn't win, and kept my teaching job.
Yeah. How about you, Ashley? What's something folks don't know about you?
I think the biggest thing is that I hated school and reading growing up. It's one of the big reasons that I became a teacher, because I was the kid in the principal's office. I was the one that was kicked out of class all the time. And I proudly say I did not read a full book until I was 21 years old. And now I'm a librarian. So it's an interesting fact, I think, that nobody would really expect. Come to find out, I probably have a little bit of reading disability if I really got down to it. And I'd read a whole page. I'd get to the bottom and had no idea what I read. Get down to the bottom of the page, no idea what I read. So worked on some comprehension skills, and here I am.
Good for you. That's great.
What was that first book?
It's a little trashy, but I'll tell you, the Alex Cross series. Do you know, like, the murder mystery?
I don't, but...
It's like beach read. And I was in the Cape with a friend in college.
But whatever works.
Yeah.
Whatever that opens the door.
That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah. That's right. Well, John, I know you have a few questions, so...
Yeah, so you both have maybe previewed it a little bit in different ways, but why this work for you right now? Like, why do you stay here? Why do you keep doing the work that you're doing with kids and literacy?
I don't mean this to be hyperbolic, but I really believe that books are magic. the way that art and text can come together to make humans feel emotions, I think is really nothing short of magic. It's incredible. I was a classroom teacher for 14 years before jumping into the library. I had an aha moment when my kids were little. We were on the couch. We're reading a Mo Willems book. My middle son's name is actually Willem, named after Mo Willems. And all of a sudden, I had this epiphany of, how do I do this every day? Like, I loved history. I loved social studies. I loved what I was doing. But I really had like this epiphany. And I went back to UVM, got the librarian endorsement, and one of the most significant and wonderful decisions I think I've ever made. Yeah. What about you, Ashley?
Similarly, actually, I was also a classroom teacher for 15 years, and I wanted to find a way to teach the best parts of literacy, and I thought library was the place. So went back to UVM and got the same endorsement. Is it Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop? Bishop Sims, I always get that wrong, but books are
Rudine Sims Bishops. It's on my paper. Look at this, a bunch of librarians
There we go.
quoting each other.
Windows, mirrors, sliding glass doors.
Yeah.
It gives kids, a reflection, an opening to the world, and that's why I do what I do.
Representation matters in those books.
100%.
I love that, and I think this is the sunny side of the work we do, right? But it can also be kind of overwhelming, all the things that have to happen in schools, and there's certainly unique challenges that come with everyone's different jobs in schools. But I'm really interested. We've been focusing a lot on wellness in the podcast, and so how do you stay well? How do you keep your head above water in the face of whatever challenges they may be that we face in our jobs?
I try to reframe it. I used to think, oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. And truthfully, I've kind of changed who I am and how I see the world. A sibling of mine passed away in April of 2023, and it has profoundly impacted me to live life every day with gratitude. And instead of thinking, I have to do this, I reframe my mind to say, I get to do this. It's not always easy on some days. There's working with, young humans can be challenging. But I really try to come back to, I'm here. I have this incredible relationship with the kids that I get to serve and the families I get to work with. I've known for over 2 decades now, and I try to lean into that. I get to do this versus I have to do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, he is good. He is good. Like, we'll have
You
his-
didn't need me here.
Yeah, he's going to do convocation next year. We're letting him out there and motivate everybody. All right, we'll let him go.
No.
I think the relationships, similarly, though, what you said. I've been in Maple Run. Well, apparently this is year 10 at convocation. I got my 10-year pin.
Yeah.
And so I think I've gotten to know our families and the community. I'm well respected and liked for the most part, and so that goes a long way when you're working with any human, kids, adults, and so that helps a lot.
I think it's the most powerful currency, right, that we have is that human dynamic relationship.
Yeah.
And another thing I was thinking about, my Nana, Ruth Moriarty Carrier, once said to me when I first started teaching, and I was expressing being stressed out or a difficult class, and she said, well, when you're at work, be at work, and when you're at home, be at home. And I think it's really important for educators to find that balance.
That is so true. That's been one of my keys, Mike, is I even do it, like I'll drive here on a day that school isn't in session and I'm not even supposed to be working, but it's like work is here. Work is not at home.
Yeah.
And I really have found that that's a balance for me. And everyone has their own little thing that creates their balance, but that I can really identify with you on, like when I'm at work, I'm working. And when I'm at home, I'm at home.
Yeah, be all in whatever sphere you're in.
Yeah. So I think that's really key advice from you, Nana.
Yeah, me too. She was smart. Sharp Irish lady who married a Frenchman, and so she had the best of both, the Irish and the French. Yeah.
Any ancestral wisdom on your part there, Ms. Levine?
No, actually. We all die young in my family. So.
I can tell you, Ashley and I actually share a wellness strategy that maybe she doesn't want to share on the podcast, but I'm gonna bring
Go
it
for
out.
it. You can do it.
One of the first time I met Ashley was actually in a literacy committee meeting 4 years ago. It was in the middle of the summer, and we did this activity to the group was coming together for the first time for everyone to meet and connect. And the prompt was something along the lines of, you're in an alternate universe. You can't be in the same profession, but you have all the same skills and talents that you have right now. What would you be? And Ashley and I had the same, literally the same response. Hers had more accompanying detail.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
wanna tell
I've planned
them?
this out.
You want to tell them?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a bar,
Oh, yeah.
and it's called
yeah.
School's Out.
Okay.
Ah.
And it's going to open at 3:20 when all the teachers. And we're going to have
Alice
tater
Cooper.
tots on school
Alice
trays.
Cooper overhead every day.
DD in a bus. We're going to have a little bus to drive people home.
There we go.
Uber,
Hilarious.
The Uber bus. There we
Yeah.
go.
I like it.
That's a good one.
So when things are really dark, that's where.
We joke a little bit. And I had this amazing assistant superintendent and curriculum coordinator once tell me, we can do anything for 1 year.
That's
And I'm going to remember that.
Yeah,
I
that's
can do
true.
anything for a year.
You can do anything for
And hold on to that.
That's right.
Some days I'll say, all right, it's 40 minutes. We can do this.
Yeah,
It's 40
exactly.
minutes. We can do this.
That's
Yeah.
right. Right. That's right. Well, hey, we're going to turn the table around. We do this every time we bring in folks to talk with us, each podcast. So you get a choice. You can share something that brings you joy. You can share something that you're grateful for. Or the third one, which more people have been taking us up on, which is you can ask us a question or ask us to do a silly game. So, what do you got?
Silly game.
Put us in the hot seat.
Yeah, put us in the hot seat.
Are there any chicken wings that are different levels of spice that we can bring to?
Ooh,
Not
that
on
should
this
have been my fun
podcast.
fact.
That would have been good.
I ate the hottest wing in upstate New York.
Oh.
Yep. If you know Danny Delorier or any of the Deloriers, Peter Delorier was
Yeah,
there
yeah.
to witness our old school board, right?
Okay.
Remember?
Right.
I ate the hottest one, 6 of them, so I'm into that.
I'm impressed.
I think we'll go with a question for you guys. this
My
time.
mild taste buds could not
Oh, yeah.
handle that.
All right.
Yeah.
So you got a question.
Yes.
What's your question?
I'm curious. I've done podcasts with students. I actually do podcasts for book reviews all the time, and the kids are pretty much in charge at this point. So what inspired you all to start a podcast?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a couple of things, but one is to get our voices out there. There's things you can communicate in an audio recording that you can't in print or in video. So I also think it gives a bit of John's and my personality and just kind of opens it up to people. So I think that's a good thing. And the other thing that has really been the inspiration for this and my newsletter this year, I put a plug in for that, is really celebrating what's right. I think I remember my first year as superintendent, we still had to do convocation through video, and I tried to show, I can't even remember I think it's DeWitt Jones, his video from National Geographic, which is celebrate what's right.
Yeah.
And it was kind of going where you were, Michael, about, be all in where you need to be, and look for the positives. And I think one of the things that we were talking earlier as we were getting ready to record here, that not only in schools, but our society is looking more at the negative side. And the stat that I quote all the time right now, being the former math science teacher, is that in our survey back from our kids, 85% of our kids are telling us they have a trusted adult in the Maple Run community. That puts us as the 90th percentile nationally. That question's being asked everywhere, and that's a sense of belonging. That's the most key question for a kid to belong to a school, and to feel that belonging is that, do they have someone that cares for them? And so we're doing great. It doesn't mean we do have some kids we still need to help, but we should celebrate how well we are doing. And so that's the big point of this and my newsletter for myself, is that we're celebrating the good parts of what we're doing.
And related to that, before you know it, you're working with the kids of the kids, which is already starting to happen. So
I've been there too.
You really want to get those connections and those relationships established as soon as possible, because the next thing you know, you're going to be working with their kid. Last thing I'd say is I had a teaching partner for a long, long time, Joe Delaney. He worked at town for 40 years, and I'll never forget one of the last parent-teacher conferences we had. It was, and I'm not exaggerating, the student, her mom, and her grandmother. And at the end of the conference, they were all lovely. They walk out, and he said, "I taught all three of them. I think my time is up." And it was shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Michael, do you have something for us that's real quick before we need to end here?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious what your first jobs were.
Oh, yeah. I love this question because I was super ambitious as a little kid and very motivated by money. And so my first job was as a paper boy. And now I often say I'm from New Hampshire, and I don't admit that there was a short window of time that my family moved to and lived in Massachusetts. And so I got my first paper route. I don't even remember how old I was, but I'm not sure if I was old enough to be working or not, but working for the Newburyport Daily News. And by the time I was done and my family moved, I had the largest paper route that the Daily News had ever had. They broke it apart into 8 different paper routes because nobody would take on one that big. But you got paid by the paper, so if you're gonna do it, go big.
Yeah, be all in.
It was great. I had my bike and a little trailer with all the papers behind me, and
I could see it.
Yeah,
because those bags get heavy on the shoulder.
The bag didn't work.
Having equipment makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you, Bill?
My first job that I remember getting an official paycheck for was working at Mountaintop Inn Resort in Chittenden, Vermont, where I grew up. I was on the buildings and grounds, the maintenance. They had a much bigger Nordic Center than they do today. This is back in the 80s, but 70s and 80s. And the guy who ran the Nordic Center was in charge of all the buildings and grounds. And so he would always hire high school kids who raced cross country during the summer to do work. And it was doing anything, whether it was mowing lawns or rebuilding the corral for the horses, or cleaning out miscellaneous things that shouldn't be talked about on a podcast that were part of the end.
We need somebody.
It was do whatever you were told. And I think the best experience I had was there'd be days when a dishwasher wouldn't show up, and they'd say, "Hey, who wants to get some more money?" And I was like, "Hey, sure, I'll wash some dishes." And I think everyone kind of needs to do some of those jobs for part of their career at some point. Yeah, it's a good experience. Well, Mike and Ashley, want to thank you a lot for being willing to dive in here with us with this adventure that we're doing. Yeah. I think we have all 3 of our listeners now. We'll attract a few.
I
come from a big family. You're
good. There we go.
I told everybody I was going to be on the next episode.
That's right.
Tune in.
I love it. Well, consistently, people tell us the guests are the best part. So
That's
certainly true today.
Yeah.
It's been delightful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for thinking of us.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks for everything you do for Maple Run Kids, too.
All right, we'll be back to wrap up in just a minute.
All right, well, hey, welcome to the mailbag. John, we got to get a cool slogan for this segment,
Yeah. If anyone has any ideas, let us know. Although, judging by the look in Dr. Kimball's eye, I think he might have an idea that he just hasn't verbalized yet.
I do. I have a couple ideas, but I think of like 3 podcasts. I talked about it earlier about podcasts I listen to, and 3 of them I know they have segments. 2 of them call it the mailbag, but they have some good names for it. And first thing I'll say is I want to remind everyone, we're looking for more questions. We got a few more this week, or if you have ideas of cool guests who should join us. We just had Mike Flanagan and Ashley Levine here for librarians for pre-K8 for town and city school. But, if there's someone you want to hear from, let us know through TapIn at maplerun.org. Also, we take questions, comments, anything.
Yeah, I mean, this part is about however many listeners we have, whatever you want to hear from us.
Right now, we're trying to figure out how we get the stats, so we're working on that so we can let you know. But hopefully, it's more than 2.
I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
I've heard from more than 2 people.
Okay, so that's a good piece of data right there. Hey, so one Desiree Stevens from over at City School, she said, as cold and flu season approaches, how can we encourage more people to apply as substitutes at Maple Run? That was her first question.
Yeah, and I would say actually Desiree or anyone else that has ideas for things we're not already doing to recruit subs, please let us know. I know the HR department and principals are working overtime always to get subs, but we would love ideas on how to get some more people to sign up to sub at Maple Run schools.
Yeah, I think the other thing we would say is, talking about cold and flu season, a couple of things. One, for those of you that for those of you who want to, we would highly encourage you to get flu and COVID vaccinations. I know I just scheduled mine the other day for myself. I'm 2 weeks out at my doctor's office, but I know you can get those in many places. I also know there's been sign up in our schools for our staff to get those as well. And then the other thing we'd say is if you're sick, stay home. And really for your kids, I know it's hard sometimes. I found it hard when I had young kids and I needed to stay home and I needed to go to work and they were sick, and do I push them to go to school or not? I'll say as a parent, I probably pushed it more than I should have, but there were times I should have kept them home. And I think if there's one thing we learned through the COVID pandemic is these viruses spread through the air pretty quick. So,
yeah, and I think it is always tempting to kind of push the envelope. As a father of a 4-year-old, I know what that's like to try to.
Yeah, you're going through that right now.
Literally going through it right now. My wife is home with my daughter today. I was home yesterday, but we do get to the place now because, to Desiree's point, there's a huge lack of subs. Yeah. And we've seen this in our district and many districts around us. We do sometimes get to the place where there's too many sick staff members and we don't have enough subs, and we do have to shut schools down.
Yeah, we had to do that once last year, so we're hoping not to do that again. All right, so what's another question we got there, John?
All right, so Marie, who you may remember from last week, sent us a list of questions. Marie's a junior at BFA, and I pulled out one that I thought was really fun. And Bill, is a Pop-Tart just another type of ravioli?
And I said, and I don't think it is. It doesn't have pasta surrounding it. It has dough surrounding.
And I'm just going to have to tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, tell me where I'm wrong.
What is pasta but not dough?
It's a different type of dough than a pastry dough. It's not the flaky pastry dough that it's in a Pop-Tart.
I think you're just splitting hairs.
I may be, but it's not a ravioli. It's not a ravioli.
Well, I'm not going to put tomato sauce on it.
I'm not going to put tomato sauce in a Pop-Tart coming soon. But
I'm not saying it would taste good, but
I will say there have been quite a few Pop-Tarts that I've eaten over my time. So. Especially after some sporting event. So we used to have quite a few of those. Okay, so the next question, we're going to go back to Desiree. She said, how can we effectively communicate the impact of chronic tardiness to students and parents and implement strategies within our buildings to address and reduce it?
Yeah. So without giving a specific answer, I know you have something you want to say to that, but I will just say this is a great question because attendance is the primary predictor for student achievement in school, whether we're looking at behavior, social emotional wellness, and academic outcomes. And so this might sound weird after just having talked about illness and keeping kids home if they're sick. Obviously, we don't want to encourage kids to come to school if they're not feeling well. But generally speaking, right now across the country, and certainly here in the state of Vermont and in Maple Run, we're seeing attendance slide to levels that we have not seen historically with low attendance. And we do need to figure out how to turn the tide on this, because if kids aren't here, they're not learning, and that really is their job right now.
I think what people forget is that the social interaction that happens in the classroom is a power, and it's not just the teacher or the textbook, it's the power of the collective gathering of the students and the teacher. Mm-hmm. That really increase the learning for everybody. And so when you're not there, you miss that chance and that opportunity. So, all right. So last question. John, where's the coolest place you've traveled to?
So this is a great question again from Marie. We get lots of great questions this week. My whole life, as a small child, I saw this picture in a magazine, probably National Geographic. I don't even remember the magazine, but it was of Tasmania. And my whole life, I have wanted to go to Tasmania, but not really been able to articulate why, other than little John Muldoon saw this picture in a magazine and thought it was cool, and it stuck. And many of you know my wife and I spent 4 years living in Shanghai, working at the consulate school, and for our first Chinese New Year break, which is a long break that the consulate and the school observe over there, we took the opportunity to fly to Tasmania, because it takes forever if you want to get there from the U.S. It still took about 14 hours to get there from Shanghai, but it was much easier to get there from there, and it did not disappoint. It is my favorite place that I've ever been.
Wow. That's remote and sounds like a cool place. Yeah.
Yep. Lots of fun. Highly recommend it. Go with a lot of time.
Yeah, haven't been there.
Yeah, how about you though? You've got some cool travels you've done.
Yeah, no, I've been close to there, but that's not the coolest place. I've been close there, but in that part of the world. But the coolest place I've been is actually Greenland. I spent 2 long summertime on the Greenland ice cap. Doing climatology research, which is could be another podcast in itself. And this was in the early 90s. But we were based out of Sandreström Fjord, which was in a former U.S. Air Force base. And right there on the coast, and some of the best fly fishing, hiking, ice climbing, just going out with a treeless area, animals all around. Just gorgeous tundra. And for me, it was just a big playground in my 20s. And I had done that right after college. I was working at UNH in a research group using glacier ice cores to measure climatology data, and had a great time. Each time I went, I took a week to 2 weeks before and after I got off the glacier just to play. And it was amazing. I had one day where I know I caught over 50 or 60 fish in like half a day on a fly rod just because there were so many Arctic char.
It's incredible.
Yeah, just unbelievable wilderness. So some people might think it's bleak, but to me it was just gorgeous. And just the fjords going up 1,000 feet right there, and sea lions playing in the ocean, and muskoxen running around in the tundra. So it's pretty amazing place. Yeah. All right,
okay.
So I think that's going to end us for today. And so, again, if you've got anything you'd like to ask us or have us talk about or a guest to bring in, reach out to us at tapin@maplerun.org, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Have a good one.